Dimitri Bivol returns this week against Michael EIFERT mandatory challenger. How does this fight go? Is this really a tune-up fight, or could it be difficult for Bivol? Interesting questions to be asked, but I am confident in a Dimitri Bivol win here. And honestly, I think EIFERT is perfect for him stylistically. But there are questions. How is Dimitri Bivol going to look coming back from surgery? How is he going to look after a long layoff? But there is other questions because Michael EIFERT has been waiting for this opportunity for a very long time. But he's been sat on the sidelines. He was out the whole of 2025. He had one fight in 2024 in August. That's the last time he fought. And he only had one fight against Jean Pascal in 2023. And he had over a year layoff before going to the warm-up fight in August of 2024. So really, EIFERT hasn't had a proper fight in over 3 years because the Pascal fight was in March of 2023 and we're now in May, so over 3 years since he actually had a proper big fight. So yeah, EIFERT blew his last opponent out of there in 2 rounds in a 6-rounder. It's like, yes, I get he's been waiting, but surely there's other things he could have done. And it's only going to help Bivol because, it's not like Bivol's coming off surgery against an active, hungry guy. EIFERT's, of course, going to be hungry. This is a big opportunity for him. But he's been even more inactive than Bivol has in this past year. So yeah. Look, I think the question is, how is Bivol going to look here? What are we going to see from Bivol? Is he still the same guy after his surgery? And is he still the same guy after those two grueling Artabeta fights? I think these are the big questions, really. And honestly, I think Bivol's going to get a convincing decision in here. Possibly dropping EIFERT once or twice in the process. But I do think it's a fight where Bivol's going to want to get rounds in. And I do think EIFERT's a tough guy who, is light on his feet himself. But honestly, I think he's perfect for Dimitri Bivol's counters. And I think he's a perfect guy for Dimitri Bivol just to completely outclass here. A good durable guy who, again, has operated at a half decent level, but years ago, though. That's the thing. But to be fair, I think EIFERT's pretty skillful overall. I think he has got skill. He is light on his feet. He does like his straight punches. And he's quick with it. But really, I call him like a B-Tech version of Dimitri Bivol, a C-Tech version of Dimitri Bivol. Bivol is levels above this guy. But I do think EIFERT is a credible name to beat, though. I do think overall, I think he's an underrated boxer. That has to be said. I think EIFERT is underrated. Skill-wise, activity-wise, he hasn't done enough. He hasn't proven enough. And that's the thing. I think it should be comfortable for Bivol, and honestly, EIFERT being a mandatory challenger, I think it's a perfect mandatory challenger for Dimitri Bivol to come back to after over a year layoff and after 24 brutal rounds with Artabeta. I think it's the perfect fight for him to come back to, and I think it's the perfect fight to get rounds in and completely outclass the guy. That's the thing, because EIFERT, he's not got a style to come in there and make it messy. I think he'll be confident in himself to try and come in here and outbox Dimitri Bivol technically. And a big thing I will say as well, though, even though EIFERT has had a long layoff, he's known about this Dimitri Bivol or Artabeta fight, obviously Dimitri Bivol, but he's known about this for a long time. So he's probably been in a camp for Dimitri Bivol or been training for him for well over a year now. And I think that is something which does have to be said. But honestly, I don't think it's going to make much of a difference. I think Bivol absolutely outclasses him. I think it's going to be a proper one-sided affair here. But honestly, I think if Bivol wants to, I think he can get EIFERT out of there. I really do think he can get EIFERT out of there if he wants to. But honestly, I do think it's one where he is going to want to get rounds in. And EIFERT, I think, can be durable. I think EIFERT could be difficult to pin down and finish, though. That is something to say. But I do think he's just got a perfect style for Bivol to outclass and box with. That's the thing. I think, but again, no. It could. I thought it's like it could be one of those styles where Bivol just outclass him that bad. A finish is just there. But who knows? I'm intrigued to see how Dimitri Bivol is gonna look it, to be honest. And after this, it's just an obstacle to get through before we see a big fight, really. And it's like I think now Morel's lost to Zach Shelley. I think a Callum Smith fight is there for Dimitri Bivol to take. Obviously, who knows what's going on with the Beterbiev trilogy? Beterbiev got injured before his last warm up fight. Who knows what's going on there? With Benavidez, he seems happy at it seems like he seems happy at cruiserweight right now. He might fight Jai, and then they're looking to chase an Usyk fight in the future. So I'm not sure a Benavidez fight will happen. So I think if the Beterbiev trilogy's not there, I think the Callum Smith fight is perfect to go to. But after this, I definitely want to. I'm hoping we see Bivol fight again this year. I'm sure he will. But yeah, I think the main talking point is how is Bivol going to return after surgery? This is what matters. And I think people are going to be watching Dimitri Bivol and analysing him very closely to seeing, is his bounciness still there? Is he still as light on his feet as he was after his knee surgery? That is the big thing. So that's what people are going to be looking at. But again, it is a big fight where Bivol's going to be getting rid of these ring rust and needing these rounds in again. And I think, as I've been saying, Eifert's a perfect style for him to get these rounds in, but he's also a perfect style for Dimitri Bivol to actually outclass that badly and ends up bringing a stoppage. So I think that's a big thing. But I do think a lot of people are getting impatient. They just want to see the big fights now. But I do like this fight stylistically for Dimitri Bivol because it's the perfect fight to come back to. And again, after surgery and Beterbiev fights, I think Bivol is well deserving of he's definitely well deserving of a warm-up fight like this. And look, I've first been waiting a long time for this opportunity as well. So it is a fight that had to be ordered. It was always gonna be ordered, and yeah, I guess it has to happen now. So I don't think you can complain too much about it going on. We're gonna see Bivol win a big fight. Let's hope that Russ can come off here and we see a good solid performance and yeah, a good confident performance from Dimitri Bivol getting these rounds in and hopefully pushing for a stoppage as well. But I think the pressure really does start after this fight. I don't really see much jeopardy in this fight for Bivol at all, and I don't think there should be. But yeah, look, I've been in this position for a while, so he is going to be hungry. He is going to do all he can. But honestly, I don't think he's got the right style to go up against someone like Dimitri Bivol at all. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to Bivol returning.